I never thought those words would come from his mouth. Not from Tyler. Not from the boy I raised with these two hands. Not from the 7-year-old who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms, whispering, "Grandma, promise you'll never leave me." And I promised. God, how I promised. But before we go any further, if you've ever felt invisible in your own life, if you've ever given everything and received nothing back, please stay with me. Subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Your support means everything. My name is Catherine Williams. I'm 55 years old. And I'm going to tell you about the day my heart broke into so many pieces, I wasn't sure I'd ever be whole again. The gold locket around my neck, this one, I'm touching it right now, belonged to my grandmother Ruth, then my mother Elizabeth, then me. 3 generations of women who knew sacrifice. Inside is a tiny photograph of my daughter Sarah, Tyler's mother, taken 3 weeks before the accident. I was wearing this locket the day everything changed, the day I sat in that lawyer's office in Charleston, South Carolina, watching them convert my entire life savings into a cashier's check. $285,000. Every penny except the $27,000 I kept for emergencies. The paper felt so heavy in my hands. I was an elementary school teacher for 42 years. Every dollar of that $285,000 came from lesson plans I graded at midnight, from summers teaching remedial reading for $35 an hour, from driving a 15-year-old Honda with duct-taped mirrors, from never buying myself anything I didn't need. My retirement had $312,000. I gave Tyler $285,000. Tyler was 7 when his parents died. I can still see him in Spider-Man pajamas, asking if it was his fault. I held him for 3 hours, arms going numb. I promised he'd never be alone. Kept that promise for 18 years. I paid for everything: braces, $6,200, college, $47,000. His wedding to Miranda, $18,000. Miranda's dress, $3,800. Mine, $42 from clearance. I just wanted Tyler happy. When he wanted the house on Magnolia Street, I didn't hesitate. $285,000. I put it in his name alone. Didn't want him to think I didn't trust him. That was my biggest mistake. The red flags started small. 3 weeks after we moved in, I came home to find my bedroom completely different. The beige walls were now stark white. My grandmother's quilt, green and gold squares she'd stitched in 1952, was gone. Just gone. "Where's my quilt?" I asked Miranda. She was in my doorway, wearing $240 athleisure, sipping $40 wine I'd bought. "Oh, I put it in garage storage. It clashed with our aesthetic. We're going for coastal minimalism. You understand, right, Catherine?" Catherine. She called me Catherine, not Mom. Just Catherine. Like I hadn't just given up my entire retirement for her house. I paid $3,200 every single month. For groceries, utilities, taxes, insurance, their gym memberships, Lily's swim classes. And I didn't just pay. I cooked breakfast every morning, cleaned bathrooms every Tuesday on my knees, did laundry every Thursday in $22 hypoallergenic soap, watched Lily 3 days a week while they went to hot yoga. When they went to Cabo for 10 days, I stayed with Lily. They just assumed I had nothing better to do. 4 months in, I found the list. Catherine's duties, 17 items. Deep clean guest bathroom weekly. Dinner ready by 6:30 p.m. sharp. Something inside me cracked. But I didn't say anything. Then came Thanksgiving. I hosted 15 people, cooked 3 days straight. $67 turkey. My daughter Sarah's green bean almondine that takes 2 hours. Miranda's mother said, "You're so lucky to have live-in help, Miranda." Live-in help. I was standing right there. Nobody corrected her. At 11 p.m., I was at that sink, hands raw from hot water, 53 years old, scrubbing my mother's china, wondering when I'd become so small. Tyler walked in, grabbed a beer. 5 words. "It's my house. You're living here as a favor." I froze, water still running, plate in my hand. The locket felt like it was choking me. I wanted to scream that my $285,000 bought every brick, every shingle, every square foot, that I'd raised him from 7 years old, that I'd sacrificed everything. But I didn't scream. I went silent. You shrink, you disappear. 2 weeks later, I found an envelope on my bed, $500 in cash, and a note in Miranda's handwriting. "Thanks for all your help around the house. You're such a blessing." They'd paid me like I was their housekeeper. I did the math. I'd paid them $285,000, was paying $3,200 monthly, cooking, cleaning, raising their child, and they gave me $500. I was making $160 a month to be their maid in a house my retirement built. The real breaking point came on a Tuesday. 6 hours making Tyler's favorite pot roast. Sarah's recipe. $87 on groceries. The roast was perfect. Tyler took one bite. "The meat's tough." Miranda laughed. Lily threw mashed potatoes at my face. Nobody apologized. I stared at my reflection. Gray hair I couldn't afford to dye. Calluses from scrubbing their floors. I was 53 and looked 70. That night I checked my bank statements. $27,000 left. Social Security, $140 monthly. Spending $3,200. 19 months before I'd have nothing. Next morning I called Margaret Chen. Told her everything. My voice shook. "That house is legally Tyler's, but I have every receipt. Can I do anything? Let's fix this." 3 months building the case. Every document, every text, every tax payment. Margaret found a 2019 case. Unconscionable conduct. Court, May 15th. Judge Morrison read evidence 45 minutes. Then asked Tyler, "Did your grandmother give you $285,000? It was a gift. A gift she paid taxes on? Contributed $3,200 monthly toward? Where you told her she lived there as a favor. This is elder financial abuse." 6 minutes later, unjust enrichment, unconscionable conduct. Tyler owed $320,000. My original $285,000 plus $35,000 damages plus $12,000 legal fees. 90 days to pay or the house would be sold. Tyler's face went white. Miranda sobbed. Tyler stood and shouted, "You're destroying our family. Lily needs her grandmother." I picked up my locket, held it tight, looked at the boy I'd raised and said, "You destroyed this family the day you forgot who built the house you claimed as yours." Then I walked out. Didn't look back. Tyler paid $175,000 up front and signed a payment plan for $145,000 at 6% interest. $2,800 monthly for 60 months. I took that check and left. Left Charleston, left South Carolina. Left everything. 4 months later, I moved to Portland, Oregon, far from Charleston. I'd never been west of Mississippi. But Portland rained and I needed to feel cleaned. Portland rain is soft, smells like pine and possibility. I bought a small condo for $180,000. 1 bedroom, floor-to-ceiling windows, Mount Hood views. Mine, completely mine. 3 months healing, walking rivers, reading books, making terrible pottery, remembering who Catherine Williams was. 8 months later, I wrote, "Once upon a time, there was a grandmother who discovered she had wings." The story poured out. About Grace, who spent 70 years caring for everyone until feathers grew from her shoulders. She tried cutting them off, but they kept growing until she jumped from her roof and flew. Flew until she remembered freedom. I sent it to 43 publishers. 42 said no. Riverside Books said yes. The Grandmother Who Flew Away launched at Powell's. When I read chapter 3, everyone stood and clapped. I held my locket and thought about the women who came before me. By year 2, 340,000 copies, 12 languages, $890,000 in royalties. But more than money, letters, hundreds. Martha from Chicago. "Your book made me realize what we'd done to my mother-in-law. She's moving into our guest room now." Teresa from Miami. "Your book gave me courage to leave at 67. I can hear the ocean from my window." Rebecca from Austin. A girl in my class was scared her grandmother would fly away. She was sleeping in their laundry room. Your story saved her life. 3 years later, I live in a house in Portland's West Hills. Cost $520 from my book earnings. 2 bedrooms, a garden with tomatoes and basil, a writing room with windows on 3 sides where light pours in like liquid gold. I wake at 6 a.m., make French press coffee, watch the city come alive. My royalties exceed $1.2 million. But I write because every word is a word I couldn't say when I was at that sink being told I lived there as a favor. Tyler called 6 months ago, Tuesday afternoon. I was deadheading roses when my phone rang. His voice was so small. "Grandma," he said. Then he started crying. "I'm so sorry." I sat on my garden bench and listened. Miranda had left him for someone with more money. He was alone in that Magnolia Street house, still making $20,800 payments. He'd been in therapy 6 months. His therapist asked him to read my book. He read it to Lily over FaceTime. She asked if the grandmother was me. I told her yes, Tyler said, voice breaking. She asked if I was the reason you flew away. We talked for 23 minutes. He apologized, said he finally understood, asked if I'd forgive him, asked if I'd come back to Charleston. I looked at my garden, my roses, the house I'd built from words. Then I said, "Tyler, I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because carrying anger is exhausting. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean going back. You took 18 years of my life, $285,000, and my dignity. I'm glad you're in therapy, but I'm not coming back. Charleston is where I died. Portland is where I came back to life." Silence. Then, "Can I call sometimes? Can Lily know her grandmother?" "Yes," I said, "but on my terms. We talk once a month now. Brief calls. It's cordial, distant, enough. Here's what I learned. Your worth is not determined by how others treat you. You can love someone with everything and still walk away when they turn that love into a weapon. You can forgive someone and still refuse to give them another chance to destroy you. Sometimes the greatest act of love is teaching people their actions have consequences. Sometimes the greatest act of self-love is remembering you deserve better than crumbs from a table you built. I'm 55. I have gray hair I don't apologize for. A house on a hill, a career built from pain. Readers who thank me for giving voice to their silence. A garden that blooms, mornings with coffee and peace. A life that belongs to me, completely, permanently mine. I still wear my grandmother's locket every day. 3 generations of strong women who survived, who rebuilt, who refused to let the world make them small. Now I'm writing books that will outlive me, teaching other grandmothers they don't have to accept crumbs, that they can fly, that it's never too late to remember you have wings. If this story touched you, please subscribe. My next video is about a mother-in-law who discovered her son's wife was stealing from her inheritance and the revenge that made the evening news. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And remember, you are never ever too old to start over. You are never too old to fly.